Today's class explores transitions from the beast into crab, crab into beast, and I'll introduce one other movement. It's a more form-specific stretch that will integrate into just a little mini flow. If you haven't yet gotten comfortable or practiced the foundational class where I cover the static, beast, and crab and the limb lifts, I really encourage you to spend some time there. And if you're not comfortable with those yet, maybe spend another week or two addressing those specific movements before you come back to this class. So we're going to get started with a little bit of a warm-up. Today we're going to do a bit of a chest opener. You're going to grab your hands behind you, so you're going to link your fingers, you're going to keep your chest tall, and you're just going to gently pull those hands upward. So what we're doing is stretching out a little bit of the front of our shoulder. With these classes, we're not doing super long stretches because naturally you'll warm up and get moving as we get into our progressions of our animal flow movements, but it's still good to make sure that shoulders and wrists are feeling generally like they're ready to go. And if you ever want to do more stretching on your own before we dive in, totally feel free to do so. That's definitely fine. Good. We're going to do a little tricep stretch. So you're going to reach your arm overhead. You're going to grab the elbow with the opposite hand, and you're just going to gently pull back. Try and keep those ribs down if you can. If you maybe had a band and know a banded front rack stretch, you could certainly do that if you chose. We're just getting into that tricep and maybe a little bit of lats there. Good. Keep breathing and switch sides. Opposite hand. So we're going to do this, some wrist mobility, and then we will just do a quick review or kind of warm up of our limb lifts before we get into the underswitches. Good. And then we're going to come onto our knees and we're going to go for 5 hip waves. So hip waves, hands are going to be on the ground. You're going to get knees out slightly wide, press your hips back. So sending your bum towards your knees, opening those shoulders long, so you might get a bit of a shoulder stretch here. And then slowly pull yourself forward, letting those knees drop to the floor, pulling those shoulders back, so lift that chest. Keep your core tight, so if you feel pinching in your lower back, I want you to stop a little bit sooner or go down to your elbows so you don't have to feel like you have to press those hips all the way to the floor. If your back doesn't allow that without causing pain, then you do not need to go there. Good. Let's leave it there and then jump into our wrist mobility. So for today, we're going to start with the same fingers facing forward. So fingers forward, gentle rocks forward and back. And then I'm going to add another variation for today that you have not done yet, or we haven't done together at least. Make sure that if you find that this animal flow practice is really aggravating your wrists, it's a lot for you, that you add in these stretches outside of just this class time. This is easy enough for you to do on your own, whether you're at a desk or warming up for your other fitness classes or in front of the TV, whatever it may be. These are easy enough to do, and the accumulation and consistency really will make a difference. Next, you're going to get top of your hands down. If you don't have a soft surface, you might feel more comfortable there, but just ease into this. This is what we call the gorilla stretch. Try and straighten those elbows. If you have straight elbows here, you can try making fists. So opening and closing those hands, moving your fingers around. This is a good one to come back to if your wrists are getting tired in the middle of practice, because we're essentially doing the opposite range that your wrists are in when we're in those positions like beast and crab. Good, and then we're just going to do some roller coasters. So you're going to clasp your fingers and we're going to go in one direction for about 15 seconds. This is just getting different ranges of motion in our wrists going. It's fun to switch it up. Wrist mobility isn't like it's the most exciting thing. Good, and let's go the opposite direction. Nice work. All right, and shake it on out. So for our warm-up, or some prep, we are going to go through our contralateral lifts in the beast and the crab. So just as a quick reminder here, in our beast position, hands under shoulders, elbow pits forward, or inside of elbows forward. Knees should be hip width apart, stacked just under belly button or inside of hip crease. Knees are hip width apart. You're finding that nice neutral core position or spine position, core tight. You're gonna tuck those toes, lift your knees 1 inch from the ground. Now for our contralateral lifts, you're gonna lift hand and opposite foot. Remember that as you're lifting, it's retracting through the shoulder and just your toe lifting off the ground. So we're gonna do about 30 seconds here, so join me if you haven't yet. We're going to static beast, and then you're gonna focus on your contralateral lifts. Opposite hand, opposite foot, retracting through that shoulder. Try to keep those knees low. Keep those elbows straight and relax. Next, we're gonna flip onto our bums. We're gonna get ready for the same thing in our crab, so let me show you it quickly. So you're gonna set crab. Remember, we don't wanna be too far in terms of being too spread out. Wanna be fairly tight with hips just between our hands and our feet. Feet should be hip width apart. Now I want you to think about pulling those shoulders down and back, looking up just slightly. You're gonna press those hands and feet into the ground, lift your bum 1 inch from the ground, and for our limb lifts, you're gonna make sure to retract that shoulder. So if my left shoulder's lifting, my right foot's lifting, and then switching. Making sure we're trying to move as much through our shoulder as possible, and then if the elbow bend is needed, that's fine. So we're gonna do 30 seconds here together. So set crab, lift that bum 1 inch from the ground, and dive into those contralateral lifts. Keep those hips low. Keep that base foot nice and stable here. Make sure you're looking up just a little bit. And relax. So now it's time to add the transition piece. So really those contralateral lifts you just practiced are exactly what it takes to move in and out of both of those positions. We're gonna start moving from the crab into the beast, and then we'll work on the other way around. So just watch to start, and once you feel comfortable, I'll give you some time to practice on your own. So when we move from the crab into the beast, our setup is the same. So I would call set crab, and you'd lift those hips 1 inch from the ground. Now, I would call a left leg underswitch if I want you rotating or moving to the left. And so when I call a leading leg, if I call a left leg underswitch, your left leg lifts, and because we're doing opposites, your right arm lifts. So anytime I call left leg underswitch, you lift that left leg and right hand. If I were to call a right leg underswitch, you'd lift your right leg and left hand. So that's always how the call-outs are gonna work. Always, or when in doubt, remember that you're doing opposite hand, opposite foot. So if I were to call a left leg underswitch, I'm going to lift my left leg and right hand. And just for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to keep my hand planted, but what your hand would be is off the ground. And you're going to think about pressing the gas. And what I mean by that is you're lifting that heel off the ground. If you don't do this, you're going to actually feel like you have a hard time rotating. This allows for movement. So to kind of go through that starting point again, if I were to call a left leg underswitch, you'd lift your left leg, right hand, press the gas, so you're gonna lift that right heel. What you'll notice naturally is that now you're ready to move. This shoulder is supporting you, keep pushing away from the floor. I'm pulling my left knee in towards my chest, and I'm keeping my hand nice and close. So the hand that lifted is ready to go. I'm rotating under my body until I'm in that beast position, which you know by now. So let me break that down again. So I call set crab, left leg underswitch. You're going to lift your left leg, your right hand. You're going to press the gas. You're going to lift that right heel. You're going to pull in that knee and hand nice and close. You're going to move through this window. So under your left arm, keeping everything close until you see the ground. You're gonna place that hand, place that foot, and now you're in your beast, making sure those knees are off the ground. If you find that you're finishing the beast and you're out here, that means that your crab is probably too wide or spread out to start, or when you're transitioning and doing the underswitch, you're extending long. So instead of rotating in nice and close, maybe you're kind of getting extended in terms of your arm reaching or a leg not being close to your body. So those are things for you to check in on. As a kind of note, because I know this question comes up often, you are not going to make a full 180 transition. So you're going to start facing one way and you're not going to completely rotate. So if you find that you're not facing the opposite wall, that's okay, that's normal. Don't feel like you need to. So what we're going to do is spend a few minutes here. I'm going to call out underswitches and you can follow along, or if you just want to kind of zone me out and practice on your own speed, your own time, I'm okay with that too. Honestly, this is practice time and it's more important to me that you feel comfortable with the movement. So let's set crab, left leg under switch. Lift your left leg, right hand, press the gas on the right side. You're gonna tuck your left knee, hand in, rotate under your body, plant your hand, and now you're in the beast. Good, reset. Set crab, right leg under switch. Lift your right leg, left hand. You're gonna press the gas, lift that left heel. You're gonna tuck your left hand and right knee towards you. You're rotating under your body until you're in beast. Now make sure that you're rotating under your body. We never wanna rotate over, so make sure you're doing that. And if you're not sure, maybe even film yourself and see what you're doing. So set crab, right leg under switch. Lift your right leg, left hand. Press left heel off the ground. Keep your knee close. You're rotating under your body, so you're rotating towards that right hand. See the floor, place that hand, reset into beast. Good, we're gonna do one more. Set crab, left leg under switch, left leg, right hand. Press the gas, rotate through that window until you're in beast. Good. All right, so that was our underswitch from crab into beast. Now we're gonna try doing from beast into crab so that you can go back and forth a little bit more fluidly. So when we are in the beast, a lot of the same things apply. So you're gonna set beast. So if I were to call a left leg underswitch, I'm going to lift my left leg, right hand, and I'm gonna rotate under my body. Now, one of the differences is that because we're in this set position, my heels are already off the ground. I'm already ready to transition because my heels are already in a position that allow me to move. So if I'm doing a left leg under switch, I'm gonna lift my left leg, right hand. I'm gonna rotate under my body, keeping that knee close, hand close. And I'm gonna rotate, I'm just gonna shift a little bit. And now, since the heel's off, that's gonna be my stopping point. So once I rotate and I'm facing in front, back into my crab, I'm gonna drop that heel to stop the rotation, plant my hand and foot, and now I'm back in crab. So let me show you that again. I'm gonna do it on my right side this time. If I were to call a right leg under switch, I'm gonna lift my left hand, right leg. I'm rotating under my body, keeping everything nice and close. That heel is lifted. I'm gonna drop my left heel to stop the rotation. I'm gonna plant hand and foot, and now I'm back in crab. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to call out a few underswitches, just like I did with crab. I'm gonna have you actually reset into beast each time. So we're focusing specifically for the next minute or two on moving from beast into crab. So let's set beast. Right leg under switch. Lift your right leg, left hand. You're moving towards the right, under your body. Plant that foot. Open your chest. You should be back in this crab position. Good. Reset to beast. Set beast. Left leg under switch. Lift your left leg, right hand. You're rotating under your body. Plant that right heel, drop your opposite hand and foot, and now you're in crab. We're gonna do one more. Set beast. Left leg under switch. Lift your left leg, right hand. You're rotating under your body. Drop that heel, plant your hand and foot, finishing in crab. Nice work. So those are your under switches. I'm going to teach you one more movement and then give you a sample of how you can combine them into, I would say, a very basic flow, but a great one for just getting used to the movements. So the last movement is a crab reach. So this is a stretch more than anything. You're going to start in crab, so it will always start set crab, just like you practiced. If you're someone who's tight through your hips, you might actually need to go a little bit wider with your feet on this one. So in the crab reach, I'm always going to call the reaching arm. So let me give you an example before I break it down. If I were to call a right arm crab reach, I'm lifting my right hand, I'm following that right hand and ending, if possible, in this nice open semi-bridge position where my arm is framing my head. So a few things and a little bit of a breakdown. You start in the crab position, like I mentioned, but I call a right arm crab reach. Your left arm becomes your support arm. It's really important that you keep this pushed and active, so ears away from shoulders. Your right arm is going to come in front of your eye line, and it should stay there. Okay, so you're always looking at that thumb. The first thing I want you to think about is lifting the hips to the sky. And for some of you, you might stay here. So if that's okay for you, you can focus on getting those hips up, then just stop here if that's kind of your comfort zone. If that feels okay, your shoulders safe, your hips are open, then you're gonna follow that hand until you're looking at your base arm. Notice that this right arm is now framing my head. Okay, so I actually end up in this kind of frame position where arm is overhead, which opens up my side body, opens up that lat, opens up my shoulder. It's just a nice opening and stretch position. So that would be your full crab reach, but make sure you're only doing that if that first part's good. If I were to call to get back to the crab, I would call return to crab. You'd follow that hand back down nice and slow, plant your hand, and now you're back in the crab. So why don't we do one per side of just the crab reach, and then I'll introduce the flow, and whether you decide to do it or not will be up to you. So let's set crab. Left arm crab reach. Left arm in front of your face. You're going to press those hips up, up, up. And if you're feeling good, you're going to rotate your gaze towards that right arm. Left arm framing your head. Return to crab, slowly lower, plant your hand. You should still be in static crab here, bum 1 inch from the ground. Right arm crab reach, hips up, follow that hand. Should be looking towards that left hand, right arm framing your face, and return to crab. All right, shake it on out. So when it comes to flows, these can obviously progress to be much more advanced, much more fluid, all those kind of things. For today, all we are going to do is work through our under switches and our crab reaches. So it's not super complex, and I'm just going to show you a little bit, and then if you decide on your own time you want to practice it, you totally can. So this is what it's going to look like. Set beast. Right leg under switch. Left arm crab reach. Return to crab. Right leg under switch. And then we repeat it on the opposite side. Left leg under switch. Right arm crab reach. Return to crab. Left leg under switch. And relax. So I'll do it one more time with the call out. Set beast. Right leg under switch. Left arm crab reach. Return to crab. Right leg under switch. Left leg under switch. Right arm crab reach. Return to crab. left leg, underswitch, and relax. So you can certainly repeat that more than just the one time throw on each side. If you felt good, you could continue. But as always, listen to your body and make sure that your movement quality takes precedent above everything else. Have some fun with it, keep working on these basics, and I'll see you next class.